What's up? My name's Drew, and you are looking at my portfolio of me as a reader. Located directly above that huge list that you just looked at and were like, what the heck is that thing? That is my annotated bibliography. And here I'd just like to reflect on it a little bit and tell you exactly what was coming to mind while putting this together. Um, Overall, I liked having to do this. Putting together a list of books that I've read is difficult, and by no means is this list complete. I can think of a few books right off the top of my head that I didn't include, uh, just because I didn't really remember. Like right now, I can think of Jurassic Park. I didn't add that one in, and that was one of the first books I had ever read. That was the first book my mom read to me when I was a little kid. So literature has been something that's been in my life for a lot longer than what I've been studying. And a lot of this list is compiled of stuff that I've read in school and on my personal time. So I'd just like to reflect on that a little bit. It actually wasn't very hard to to think of books, and there was really no lack in any category of things that I had read. We were required to write from the text that we had read in four different categories. That was global literature, British literature, American literature, and young adult novels. And I didn't think I knew that many global lit books or pieces of work, but I really did. It wasn't that hard. I felt like the hardest may have been young adult because I didn't really necessarily know the definition of it. But after really thinking about it, I was able to put together a list of texts that I had read when I was coming of age, before I had entered college, and a lot of them were books that I read on my own time. Um, I know the entire Harry Potter series was something that I loved, and that can really be seen as young adult. And these kids are coming to dealing with issues that kids in schools are dealing with now. Also, the Hunger Games series was something that I recently read and really enjoyed. I've already worked on a few lesson plans that had to do with that in a classroom, and I'm absolutely excited to say the least about teaching that. It really touches on some cool ideas of media, and the way gender is used in that book is very interesting. I can kind of tie a bunch of different texts together. When I was writing this, I decided to use the texts to identify the themes and to use them to define maybe how I would teach them a little bit, to bring out the certain ideas and connections. And I realized that I can connect them more with non-literature than I can with other books. A lot of times I can connect them with movies more often than I can connect them with even other books or stories based around the same themes. Outside of that, I also realized that I do not read enough of the canon. In high school, we were always assigned to read these books, and in high school I never read them. I just had other things going on, and then when we got into college, I came in and my teachers had been like, okay, well, these are the books that they read in high school, so we're going to go beyond those and study something else. And I still haven't read them. Many of them. Books like The Great Gatsby, I really had never read. I had to pick that up on my own in order to read it, even though we were supposed to have read it. If my students are going to be tested on standardized testing on these canonical texts, it's my responsibility to know them. So that's one place where I'm going to bring my reading. Coming up, having this all compiled has really given me a vision of a few things that I need to work on, and that's definitely one of them. I definitely need to read some more of the canon. Outside of that, I think for anything, this was stronger. It really encouraged me by looking at what I had read. something that I noticed was I tended to think of screenplays and songs. I thought about regular scripts. I thought about plot lines to video games that I had read. These were all things that I can bring to a classroom as literature that wasn't necessarily there. I mean, I don't think I even know a teacher who would ever think about teaching a video game as a way to write a literary narrative or a way to explore plot and theme. But that's something that I've always been excited about doing. I mean, I don't even like playing video games, but I tend to get sucked into the storyline, and I will play on like the easiest level you can just so I can beat it and find out what's going on. I also read a lot of graphic novels. Graphic noveling wasn't anything that I was exposed to before college. And then once I read The Watchmen, and from then on I started reading some other graphic novels and realized how strong that was as an influence for me reading in my life. And I really have a strong connection to it about what would be series of comic books and graphic novels. These things can be like so important in a classroom, and I tended to have a few that I was reading that are involved in my list, and I'm excited about that. I am coming into the game as a teacher who already has a diverse field of reading and genres, but I would like to get enough of the foundation to be able to effectively teach the text that kids need to know. And, that comes first. But I am very excited to also teach them how to question that canon and, to question why this graphic novel genre isn't necessarily involved in it, and why young adult novels are seen as young adult novels and not just regular novels. I really want to teach kids how to question that, and this list showed me how strong I am in having read that, and that's where my interest lies. The books that I read outside were graphic novels and plays and young adult novels. Everything that I needed to really study, the canonical texts and things that I really needed to pay attention to when I was reading, were taught in school.